Yeah. Go, go, go! Oh! You boys! Detroit's gonna part. Fuck you boys! Tigers on fire! A grand slam summer! Come on, cheer up, let's you boys! This is the year! Oh, eat crow! That's what I'm doing tonight, right here on All Andy Alfred, because the Tiger Fever is back in the Man Cave Studios tonight. The pennant is back up. These guys are in trouble. These guys getting ready to play the Dodgers, the Falcons. Oh, against the Ohio Bobcats. And, of course, hockey season is right around the corner. A long show for you tonight. A good show for you tonight. And with that, I say, I love you guys. And welcome into the final day of September, the 30th of September, 2025. I am your host, Andy Alfred, welcoming you into the Man Cave Studios, welcoming you in to another edition of All Andy Alfred. Yes, the Falcon logo is out. I am wearing a t-shirt tonight. Yes, I am. I'm wearing a t-shirt tonight because we are on a bye week this week with the Falcon football team. We'll get into what happened in Athens and what the bye week will entail for us. Also, we'll take a look at what happened in college football as well. Also dive into the NFL. The Lions getting a huge win against the Cleveland Browns. We'll talk about where the Lions go from here and where the Browns go from here as they'll head over to Big Ben to see London, England, and the waiting Minnesota Vikings. We'll talk about that tonight as well. Also, the Jackets in action as we speak on the podcast tonight. As we're taping this broadcast around 8:30 this evening. The Jackets taking on the Washington Capitals in the final game of preseason at Nationwide Arena. They'll have one more game on Saturday against the Capitals. We'll take a also look around the National Hockey League as well. Also, programming note, on Thursday, we will have a special edition of All Andy Alfred. It will be taped. We'll be taping the NHL preview edition. Yours truly will be making his predictions, and we will preview the Jackets, the Red Wings, the Blackhawks, the defending Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers, as well as some of the other teams, and you'll hear my prediction on who I think will lift Lord Stanley's Cup this upcoming June. Also, programming note as well too, there will be no Falcon Friday this upcoming Friday, so we'll have another edition taped as well. It'll be an audio version only, for the predictions for college football for Saturday and for the NFL games on Sunday. I know I've been lacking a little bit on that. I've just been having some scheduling conflicts here and there, trying to get as many days as I can for podcasting for you guys. And I do apologize for that. But we are trying our best with all the scheduling and pushing and pulling here and there. But we're on the air tonight, and I am truly grateful to be with you guys tonight. And you can always be a part of our show by following us on our Twitter account. It is at All Andy Alfred. It is at All Andy Alfred, as well as Facebook.com/All Andy Alfred, as well as on our YouTube channel right here, which is the All Andy Alfred Hangout page right here on YouTube.com/All Andy Alfred. So again, welcome in to the show on the 30th day of September 2025, and let's get right into it. A huge game today. Of course, the end of the season, of course, the series for the Tigers and the Guardians after I last left you, which was last Tuesday, the 23rd, after the collapse of the Tigers. The Tigers lose 2-3 to the Guardians. They find a way to win games in Boston and clinch a playoff spot, but the Guardians, in the end, win the American League Central. After being down 15.5 games in July, they come all the way back and to win the American League Central, as I'm just readjusting the camera here. And they come back to win the American League Central and get the 30th seed overall. They play the 6th seed, which was the which are the Detroit Tigers, in Game 1 today at Progressive Field. Now, you look at this game today, and 78% of the teams that win Game 1 eventually will win the series. And today, Detroit needed this game, and they absolutely needed this game. And it was a great pitching matchup today as Terrence Skubal goes out on the mound today at Progressive Field, a game that the Tigers absolutely needed. If they wanted to continue their postseason run, to continue into the postseason and set the tone for the series. And he comes out and he just an absolute gem of a game. He pitched such a gem of a ball game. 14 strikeouts in the game. And he got into Kenzie Noel to just lose his helmet on a couple of those pitches. And he was absolutely stellar today. And so all I have to say to that is pay this man. Pay him. Pay him. Detroit. Pull that pizza money out and pay this man. He deserves it. After the performance he gave you, 14 strikeouts today for Terrence Skubal in the game, as he went 7 2/3 innings, 3 hits, 1 run. That run was earned. 3 walks, 14 strikeouts. His ERA in the postseason, a 1.17 ERA in the game. For the Guardians, they did start out Williams on the bump today. He went 6 innings, 5 hits, no runs, 1 walk, 8 strikeouts in the game. It was, unfortunately, it was the unforced errors that cost the runs that were not earned, cost them the game today in this game against Detroit today for Cleveland. As, of course, Torkelson singled off to left. Carpenter scores in the first inning and jumped out to the early 1-0 lead. Then Arias reached into the infield single. Martinez scores. Ramirez moves over to third in the bottom of the 4th inning, turns it into a 1-1 game. And then McKinstry hits the sacrifice bunt, and Riley Green comes in to score. Perez goes to second. It's 2-1, and it got dicey into the 9th inning. Vest comes into the game to try to close it out. A weak hit over to from Ramirez over to Vest, and he throws it away, and Ramirez goes to third. They had nobody out with a runner at third, 90 feet away from tying the ball game. It was strikeout, fielder's choice, pop out, ball game, and Detroit takes Game 1 of the American League Wild Card Series by the score of 2-1. With the loss, Williams goes to 0-1. He has a 0 ERA. He had 8 strikeouts in the game. And, it was a good game. Honestly, it was. The Tigers had 5 hits. Cleveland had 4 hits in the game. Detroit left 6 runners on base. And we'll see what happens with the series. I mean, now tomorrow's going to be a big game. Of course, Vest gets the save, his first of the season. But tomorrow's could be a closeout game for Detroit. It could be a closeout game for Detroit, and Cleveland's on the ropes right now. Like I mentioned before, 78% of the time that the Game 1 winner goes on to win the series. And so the pressure's on Cleveland to bounce back. And tomorrow with Jack Flaherty jumping on the bump tomorrow, it's going to be a big pitching matchup tomorrow at Progressive Field. It'll actually be Casey Mize on the bump tomorrow in the game, and he'll take on Tanner Beebe. So that's going to be very, very interesting. Beebe, a very good pitcher for the Guardians this year. Beebe overall this season, he was 12-11 with a 4.24 ERA. He has a total of 162 strikeouts this season. His WHIP is a 1.23 WHIP for Tanner Beebe. For Casey Mize, for the season so far, he's 14-6, tied for 8th with a 3.87 ERA. He has 139 strikeouts. His WHIP is a 1.27. A good pitching matchup tomorrow again. So we'll see what happens. I mean, the wild card, it's going to be interesting to see how this season's going to shape out. and how this pitching matchup is going to shake out. Tomorrow, 1 o'clock at Progressive Field. Game is on ESPN. The edge goes to Cleveland right now. And if you're looking at betting-wise, money line there are minus 125. The over-under on runs is over 7.5. If you take Detroit, there are the plus in the money line at plus 110. And the run line is a plus 1.5. If you're looking at that, our odds are sponsored by ESPN Sportsbook. Get your ESPN Sportsbook, and remember, gamble responsibly in that realm. So again, a huge win for the Tigers today. They take game 1 of the series by the score of 2-1, and it was overall a good game. I have a little bit of problems with some of the defensive plays, again, like we mentioned before last week, but they figured themselves out, and I'm hoping that they continue this run into tomorrow's game 2, which could be the penultimate game, because if Cleveland wins, it forces game 3 on Thursday. And projectedly, the starting pitching for Thursday's game will be Flaherty versus Cerrone on the bump. And Flaherty this season, not very good. 8-15 with a 4.64 ERA. He has 188 strikeouts this year. His whip is a 128 for Ciccione. He's 7-7 with a 4.30 ERA, 109 strikeouts this year. His whip is a 1.19. So, like I said, it's going to be an interesting matchup. I don't want to make any predictions for this playoff run because you don't know how. It's a 3-game series. You don't know how it's going to shape out. I wouldn't be surprised if Detroit tries to jump again early like they did today. And if I was them, I'd just keep pounding, because Cleveland will always be there. Kwan's right there. Ramirez, Joaquin Noel is there. Big Christmas is right there. I just, if we could just get to BB early, there's a good chance that the Tigers can win. Now, on the other side of the fence, Cleveland, of course, down 1-0 in the series. They need the timely hitting they need to go to the long ball a little bit on the thing. Rock the Tigers a little bit as well, too, and to get into their bullpen. But we shall see. It's going to be an interesting series. This is, like I said, no predictions in this series for me. I'm not going to predict the series for that one, for this series. So, other games, of course, the Cubs, a big winner of the Padres today, 3-1. We're into the top of the 9th inning. The Red Sox are up 2-1 right now on the New York Yankees. And then now, in about 15 minutes from now, it will be the Cincinnati Reds who just get into the playoffs. The Redlegs get into the playoffs for the first time since 2020, when they had Trevor Bauer on the mound. They get into the playoffs at 83-79. They will take on the Los Angeles Dodgers in Dodger Stadium. 9 o'clock first pitch. In that one, the Reds will throw out on the bump. First game, game 1, Hunter Green. Green this season, stellar performance for Hunter Green. 7-4 with a 2.76 ERA. He has 132 strikeouts. His whip is a .94. They'll sell out Blake Snell on the bump tonight for the Dodgers. He's 5-4 with a 2.35 ERA. 72 strikeouts this year. He has a 1.26 whip in the game tonight. 9 o'clock first pitch. The game 2 tomorrow, which will be the penultimate game. Cincinnati will throw out Littell on the post. Zach Littell. He's 10-8 with a 3.81 ERA. He has 130 strikeouts this year. His whip is a 1.10 whip, and the Dodgers will throw out Yoshiro Yamamoto, who is 12-8 with a 2.49 ERA, 201 strikeouts. His whip is a .99. So if I was Cincinnati, I'd try to jump out to the early lead tonight against Snell. And then if it does go to game 3 on Thursday, Cincinnati will throw out on the bump for that game, which will be, like I said, another 9 o'clock first pitch. It will be Abbott on the bump for Cincinnati. He's 10-7 with a 2.87 ERA with 149 strikeouts. His whip is a 1.15 ERA. The Dodgers have not yet named the starter for that game, the game 3, if it goes necessary. in that affair. So we'll see what happens with that. Of course, the collapse of the New York Mets was the big story out of this. Getting swept by the Marlins to get the Reds into the playoffs was absolutely amazing. The Reds taking at least one game out of the series against the Brewers, which helped their cause out of that whole situation. It's fine with that. I'm fine with that. It's fine. I'm fine with that. Now you get into after the series, of course, the winner of the Yankees Red Sox series will play the Blue Jays. Tigers Guardians will head out to Seattle to take on the Mariners. The Brewers will host either the Cubs or the Padres, and the winner of the Reds Dodgers series will take on the Phillies. Those series will start on Saturday night, and then they'll be continuing on Sunday as well. By the way, if you're wondering, two of us in the beginning of the season on this podcast, yours truly, Logan Carr, and Lucas Sigerson, all three of us had our predictions out. I want to go over them again for you guys. Logan had the Boston Red Sox versus the New York Mets, with the Mets winning. He's out because of the Mets, but Boston's still in it. I, of course, had the Baltimore Orioles and the New York Mets. Both teams are out. Lucas is the only one that's left. Boston versus Philadelphia, and his Phillies winning it. So there's that. There's that little tidbit nugget for you guys, of course. So we'll see what happens. Game 1 of the Dodgers-Reds game getting ready to start here in just a few minutes. Of course, Tigers a huge win today, 2-1 over the Cleveland Guardians. They will now get ready for Game 2 tomorrow, 1:08 on ESPN. As you are watching and listening to All Andy Alfred tonight right here on the All Andy Alfred Podcast Network, whether it be on Apple Music, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Bleaker, however you listen to our podcast, wherever and whenever you listen to our podcast. Thank you so much for tuning into the show tonight. And now let's hit the gridiron. We're going to start first and foremost with the National Football League as we recap Week 4 of the NFL. And we'll start first and foremost with the team up in Detroit as they took on the Battle of Lake Erie that took place this past weekend at Ford Field as the Detroit Lions took on the Cleveland Browns. The Browns coming into this game, huge game for the Browns after coming off the big win over the Green Bay Packers the week before, continuing their momentum. Of course, Detroit coming off the huge Monday night win against Baltimore last week on Monday Night Football, which is absolutely huge. They come back home to play the Browns, and Goff absolutely just, the connection between Goff and St. Brown was back in action again. He threw 2 touchdown passes to St. Brown, and it was a clear routing. Early on, the Browns jumped out to the early lead, but we all knew in the end that the Lions were going to take this game. And they absolutely did take this game. They absolutely obliterated Joe Flacco. And now you got questions on whether or not Joe Flacco is the right guy at the quarterback right now. Dylan Gabriel came into the game late, of course. I have a friend of mine. His name is BJ. It's my best friend's cousin. Season ticket holder for the Browns. He sits in the dog pound. Was in Detroit for the game. And he basically had one of the biggest rants that you've ever heard. He basically said, F the Browns. Why do they do this to me? Why do they kill me and dagger and kill me in my heart? And then he started the chant of Dylan Gabriel. And I agree with him. We'll get to the Lions here in just a second, but I want to talk about the Browns here really quickly. The Flacco experience, I think, is starting to fade. I know as Browns fans, and I'm a big Joe Flacco supporter. I like Flacco. I thought what he did a few years ago with the team, he did a fantastic job. But I think Father Time has finally caught up to him. when he scrambles, he doesn't have the control. And when you, especially how bad that offensive line is, they don't give him the time to pocket. I would honestly think that it's more or less a younger quarterback is needed in the game for at the quarterback realm for the Browns. And so with that in mind, I have to say this week against Minnesota, I would start Flacco, but I would have him on a short leash. I think you'll need to go to Dylan Gabriel in this game, maybe even Shedeur Sanders. I think it might be time for Shedeur to step up to the plate. And I think Joe needs to be a quarterback coach and help these kids out. Sure, you're going to have him be the veteran that is in there to teach these two young quarterbacks, but I thought the release of Kenny Pickett was a bad choice, and Pickett at least has Super Bowl. Flacco and Pickett would have the Super Bowl experience, but I just cutting him and now leaving these two young kids to fend for themselves. I just don't know. This is another Trevor Lawrence situation, and I don't know how Brown fans are going to react to this. Now, I do like that Harold Fanning is stepping up to the plate. Jerry Jeudy stepping up to the plate as well too. I like this Jenkins at running back. He's very, very good. He's not a Nick Chubb, and not a Kareem Hunt, but this kid's. So the Browns have some pieces there. They have some pieces there. It just goes back to the quarterback, and it also goes into the coaching too. Stefanski, first of all, why the hell is Stefanski wearing a hoodie? A thick hoodie at best. You're indoors. The air conditioning's on. It's going to be cool and comfortable. Hell, our coach Dan Campbell just wears a t-shirt and a hat and a pair of shorts. Stefanski looked like he was bundled up like it was 30 degrees outside. I mean, it doesn't make sense in that realm. It just doesn't make sense in that realm. So we'll see what happens. Of course, looking at the game, box score-wise, Joe Flacco, 16 for 34, 184 yards. He had 2 interceptions in the game. QBR rating of a 12.6. You just can't have that happen to be the star. Quishon Jenkins, 21 carries for 82 yards, 1 TD. Fannin had a carry for 1 yard, but he also had 2 catches for 24 yards. I figured Harold Fanning might have a touchdown because he is from the Cleveland area. It would have been nice if Flacco would have connected with him into the end zone, but it didn't happen. Isaiah Bond, 3 catches, 58 yards. Jerry Jeudy, 3 catches, 48 yards. Njoku, 2 catches, 11 yards. Jerome Ford, 1 catch, 4 yards. He also had 1 carry for negative yards in the game. The Lions, on the other side, Goff, again, great game. He did have the 1 interception in the game, so I will knock him a little bit on that. He went for the deep ball. It was picked off pretty easily. I'm not going to really complain all that much, but he was 16 for 27 for 168 yards. His QBR rating of 46.3, 2 TDs, 1 interception. Jahmyr Gibbs, 15 carries, 91 yards, 1 TD. They didn't go much to David Montgomery in this game. 9 carries for 12 yards in the game. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 7 catches, 70 yards, 2 TDs in the game. Jameson Williams, 2 catches, 40 yards. Sam Laporta, 3 catches, 39 yards. Khalif Raymond, 2 catches, 13 yards. And Raymond had the touchdown return, the punt return for a touchdown. He gives the football to his wife. It's a beautiful moment at Ford Field. I almost said Fifth Third Field, but beautiful moment at Ford Field on Sunday afternoon. You look at the team stats overall. The Lions had 16 first downs. They were 6 for 14 on third down. Lions 0 for 1 on fourth down. The Browns had 16 first downs. They were 3 for 14 on third down, but they were perfect on fourth down. They were 1 for 1. The Lions had 277 total yards of offense, 168 through the air, 109 on the ground. The Browns had 249 yards of total offense, 170 through the air, 79 yards on the ground. You look at the penalties. Both teams had 6 penalties. The Lions had 35 yards of penalties. Cleveland had 44 yards in penalties. 3 turnovers in the game for the Browns, 1 fumble, and 2 interceptions. The 1 interception for the Lions. The Browns won in the possession battle, 31 minutes, 44 seconds to the Lions, 28 minutes and 16 seconds. The win goes to the Lions with a 34-10 win. The Lions proved to 3-1. The Browns go to 1-3. So on the Lions side of things, I enjoyed this game. It was a good game. I felt like we got some pieces continuing on. The injury bug is still catching up to us a little bit. I was afraid when Aiden Hutchinson went down, and he was down. I was like, oh no, it's happening again. It's happening again. He got back up, and I'm fine. I'm fine with him going down with the injury, and then he got pounced right back up. So I'm fine. I'm fine with that. Anyway, so we get into the rest of week 4 in the National Football League. Of course, it starts with Thursday night football. That's the Seahawks getting a huge win over the Arizona Cardinals, 23-10. The first game in Dublin, Ireland, my friend, as Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers get a big 24-21 win over the Vikings. The Chargers fall to the New York Football Giants, led by Jackson Dart. But Malik Neighbors goes down with the injury. It looks like he's done for a while. But the Giants, a 21-18 win there. The Houston Texans getting a huge win, 26-0 over the Tennessee Titans. Atlanta goes at home and beats the Washington Commanders 34-27. Now, this game really scared me a little bit. Buffalo was trailing at one point to the New Orleans Saints, and then Josh Allen turned on the Jets, and the Bills cruised to a 31-19 win over the New Orleans Saints. Big game, of course. The Philadelphia Eagles and a lot of Eagle fans took over Raymond James Stadium in Tampa. Baker struggled in the game, and the defending champions come out with a huge 31-25 victory over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. New England, a 42-13 win over the Carolina Panthers. How about this one? Jacksonville goes out to Santa Clara and beats the 49ers by the score of 26-21. The Rams, a winner 27-20 over the Indianapolis Colts. A huge win there. Of course, the Bears go into Vegas and block the possible game-winner field goal for the Raiders. The Bears continue their winning ways after beating Dallas 25-24 over the Raiders. And then, of course, the big game, the primetime game on CBS, saw the Kansas City Chiefs led by Patrick Mahomes, taking on Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, and the Baltimore Ravens. Both teams going into this game were 1-2. Somebody's going to be 1-3. And I was hoping it was going to be Kansas City. And then Kansas City finally turned on the Jets. They turned it on finally and beat Baltimore 37-20. Beats them by 2.5 scores. Lamar comes out of the game with an apparent injury. So we'll see what happens with that. And then you get to Sunday Night Football, and you have the return of Micah Parsons. And by the way, I want to get into this really quickly. NBC just overplayed it too much with the Micah Parsons. They overplayed it too much with the Micah Parsons. I felt like this isn't Emmitt Smith going back. This isn't Brady going back to New England to face Belichick. This isn't that. This is a player who was there a month ago and now is playing with Green Bay. I thought it was a good game. Watched the majority of it. It comes down to the wire, and Green Bay had the opportunity to win it. Was in overtime. Game goes into overtime. The second game in the Dallas metro area that goes into overtime. They went into overtime a couple weeks before against the Giants, and Green Bay tries to get it into the end zone with a few seconds left, and it comes up nothing. But leaves 1 second on the clock, and Green Bay kicks it, and the game ends in a tie. 40-40. Now, the NFL's got to fix this. I have been a big component of this, and this is an Andy rant that I'm going to talk about tonight. And we're going to get into it right now, really quickly, after we get the other two games, of course, which were just two snoozers of a Monday night game. Denver absolutely destroyed Cincinnati, 28-3. Cincinnati's really in trouble. And then you had the Dolphins getting a big win over the Jets. Jets rallying late in the game, but the Dolphins coming up with a big 27-21 win. But the big story out of this one is Tyreek Hill coming out of the game with a dislocated knee, and he has torn ligaments and his ACL. He is done for the season. It could possibly be a career-ending injury in this round. So we'll see what happens with Miami in this round. But, of course, I want to get back to the Sunday night game. This game ends in a 40-40 tie. And this is Andy Rants. NFL games should not end in a tie. It should not end in a tie. We need a clear-cut winner when it comes to stuff like this. Especially when you're coming to playoff implications and playoff situations. Especially with both Green Bay and maybe even Dallas if they come to it. You're looking at this game and you're saying to yourself, when it's 40-40 and it's a tie game after first of all, the overtime rules, I like the fact that even if a team gets a possession, they score a touchdown, the opposition gets an opportunity to go ahead and get the ball to see if they can score a touchdown. And then if they don't score a touchdown or they can't get a touchdown out of it, the game's over. That's fine. Absolutely fine with that. My thing is this, and I've been a big component of this. Why can't we do the college rule? What they do in college. Of course, the college rule is this. They start the ball at the 25-yard line. You get one set of down. You get 4 sets of downs to get the first down, to get the first down, and then after that you have to score into the end zone. Or if you don't score in the end zone, you kick a field goal to get points, and the next team gets a possession. Now, why the NFL doesn't do that, I don't understand. You give the football, starting it off at the 40. I would start the ball at the 40-yard line and have it be, 2 possessions or 3 possessions to get down into the end zone to score. Or at least 1 possession or 2 possessions to get the first down, and then the field goal unit comes up, or a field goal unit comes down, or they score a touchdown, and then the opposition has the same opportunity. It puts the defenses on their front. Why can't we have that? Why can't we have that? That's the one thing. Why can't we have that? And then we go if both teams score, we go to the same thing. We'll flip it on the other side of the field, start at the 40, and just run it off the play clock. And then once they score, they have to score a touchdown. If they score a touchdown, they have to go for 2. If they don't score a touchdown, they kick a field goal. The opposition gets an opportunity again. They have to either score a touchdown, or kick a field goal, which will force the sudden death. And that's when you bring out the field goal kickers. And you start at the 45, 50, 55, and then you go 60, 61, 60, until somebody misses. We do that in the NHL. It's called a shootout. So let's do a kickoff. Let's do a field goal off. We wouldn't need it on the third time after the second attempt. Each team would get 2 timeouts, and they would run it off the play clock. Why can't we do that? Now I'm going to hear, well, the players won't agree to it. It's going to be injury prone and blah, 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 blah. I don't care. When it comes to playoff, you want a playoff check? You want the money? Do it. Do it. Plain and simple. Because we can't keep having ties. I've seen so many ties in the last few years, it's ridiculous. We need a clear-cut winner in the National Football League. We do. So we'll see what happens. That's Andy Rants, Part 1. As we recap Week 4 in the National Football League. We now move on to Week 5, and of course Thursday Night Football is taking place. A great matchup as the San Francisco 49ers, 3-1, will head down to SoFi to take on the Los Angeles Rams, who are 3-1. 8:15 kickoff on Prime Video. The Rams 6.5-point favorites in the game. In this one, I'm going to take the Rams to beat the 49ers in the realm. So, of course, like I mentioned before, we're not going to have an Falcon Friday edition of All Andy Alfred, of course. So we're going to go over the games for Week 5 in the National Football League, and you'll hear my predictions for the such games. So, like I said, I will take the Rams to beat the 49ers. So, San Francisco over LA. We're gonna do this card together as we're doing it on the air right here. Of course, the London game will be the first game of the day. Of course, like I mentioned before, the Browns now will travel to London and be the home team against the Minnesota Vikings. Minnesota 3.5-point favorite. That kick at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. It'll be an afternoon kick over there in London, England. I'm going to take Minnesota to beat Cleveland in that game. Other game then we get into the 1 o'clock slate. Houston is in Baltimore to take on the Ravens. Ravens are not favored. Houston a 1.5-point favorite in this game. I think Baltimore gets the better of that. I think Baltimore gets the win over the Texans. New Orleans hosts the New York Football Giants. New Orleans a 1.5-point favorite. The Giants 1-3. New Orleans 0-4. I think the Giants get a big win there. On that round, Denver travels from Monday Night Football over to the defending Super Bowl champion Eagles. The Eagles 3.5-point favorite in the game. I'm going to take the Eagles to beat the Denver Broncos. The Dallas Cowboys head up to the New York tri-state area. Of course, they head to New Jersey to take on the Jets, who are 0-4 this season. Dallas 2.5-point favorites in this game. This would be a letdown game for Dallas. This would be a letdown game, and Dallas is a 2.5-point favorite in this game so far on the line right now. I'm going to take the Jets to beat Dallas. I think that's the first win for the Jets. The Colts, Indianapolis, will host the Las Vegas Raiders in Lucas Oil Stadium. Indianapolis 6.5-point favorite. I'm going to take the Colts in that one. The Dolphins travel to Carolina to take on the Carolina Panthers. Miami 1.5-point favorites. No Tyreek Hill, like I mentioned before. Carolina 1.5-point. Miami 1.5-point favorite in this game. I am going to take. I think Miami still gets it done. Miami gets the win there. And then we get into the 4 o'clock slate. Tampa travels to Seattle to take on the Seahawks. Seattle 3.5-point favorite in this game. Both teams 3-1. The edges to the home team in this one, but I think Baker gets back on the realm. I think Tampa gets the win over Seattle. It will be Tennessee traveling out to Arizona to take on the Arizona Cardinals. 4:05 kick. Arizona 7.5-point favorites. There are 2-2. The Titans are 0-4. I'm going to take the Cardinals in that one. The Washington Commanders 2-2 overall will head out to LA to take on the Chargers. Chargers 2.5-point favorite in the game. Chargers 3-1. The Commanders are 2-2. I'm going to take the Chargers in that one. And of course, our Detroit Lions will head down to the Queen City of Cincinnati to take on the Cincinnati Bengals. The Lions a 10.5-point favorite over the Bengals. I'm going to hammer that. I'm going to take Detroit over Cincinnati in that game, I would actually probably take the minus 10.5 really easily in this game. And then, of course, Sunday Night Football sees the New England Patriots traveling to Buffalo, New York, to see them play the Bills. Bills 4-0, New England 2-2, Buffalo 7.5-point favorite. I'm going to take the Bills in that one. The Monday Night Football game sees Kansas City and the Chiefs traveling to Jacksonville to take on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Kansas City 3.5-point favorite in this game. I'm going to take. I don't trust Kansas City. I don't trust them. Especially if they could lay an egg on Monday night. And it's a Eli and Peyton game, too. Upset special. Jacksonville over Kansas City. So, to recap. Thursday night, I have the Rams over San Francisco. The London game, I have Minnesota over Cleveland. The 1 o'clock sees Baltimore over Houston. The Giants over New Orleans. Philly over Denver. The Jets in the 1 o'clock upset special beat the Dallas Cowboys. Indianapolis over the Raiders. Miami over Carolina. Tampa in the 4 o'clock window beats Seattle. Arizona over Tennessee. Washington loses to the Chargers. And Detroit blows out the Cincinnati Bengals in that game. The Sunday night game sees Buffalo beating New England. And the Monday night game, of course, Jacksonville in the upset over Kansas City. So there is that. Please bet responsibly. And remember to use the ESPN Bet for all your betting needs. Of course, gambling problem, visit the resources, of course, by calling 1-800-GAMBLER or visiting gamblingproblem.gov. So there is that. Remember that. So we'll see what happens as Week 5 of the National Football League is a few days away. As you're watching and listening to All Andy Alfred tonight right here on the All Andy Alfred Podcast Network, whether it be on Apple Music, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Bleaker, however you're listening to us tonight, wherever and whenever you're listening to us, thank you so much for tuning into the show tonight. Nothing beats an ice cold Dr. Pepper. And what goes great with Dr. Pepper, my friends? College football. And it's time to talk a little college football. And I'm going to start first and foremost with the team out of Wood County. I'm going to talk about our Bowling Green State University Falcons. And I want to talk about what happened. Well, of course, last week, of course, the week before, lost to Louisville. And I told you guys that this game this week at Ohio was a huge game for our team. Absolutely huge. The defending MAC champion, Ohio Bobcats. Bowling Green needed to go out and prove themselves in this game. Absolutely needed to prove themselves in this game. From the running standpoint and the passing standpoint to our defense needing to show up. And 2 of the 3 things showed up. The defense played very, very well. I was very, very impressed on how good the defense played. The running game is stellar still. I am enjoying the running game, but I have problems with the quarterback situation. And Drew Pine. Drew struggled in this game. Absolutely struggled in this game. And going to the box score really quickly. Drew, in the game, 19 for 29, 170 yards passing. He had 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. 3 interceptions. QBR rating at 10.8. Oh. And you want to be, and he's been the transfer. He played at Notre Dame. He has played at Missouri. And now he's playing here. Oh my God. The experiment is starting to fade with me with Drew Pine. It really is. The quarterback we had last week, get his name off the top of my head. I'm thinking about it really quickly. I'm gonna, you know what? Pull up the stats. stats from last week again when they lost to Louisville 40-17. Lucius Anderson, quarterback. Lucius, I felt he did better in some of the plays against Louisville. This was not Drew's game, and it started bad for him. Recapping it from the start to finish, you had going right off the start. Bowling Green gets the ball to start the game. Ohio won the toss, deferred the ball for the second half. The drive was going so well. And the deflection happens, and it's intercepted. And then Cameron Hollenberg runs it back 71 yards for the touchdown. And it's 7-0. Bowling Green then drives it down the field, gets the ball back, drives it again, and Pine passes it over to Karius Roberts for a 27-yard pass. Kuckner gets the kick. It's 7-7. I'm like, okay, we're fine. We're good on this round. Ohio then gets the ball back. 10 plays, 75 yards. Touchdown, Ohio. 14-7. Navarro to Mason Williams. Then Bowling Green gets the opportunity, goes down the field again. Gets it to the Ohio 8 on a 3rd and goal. Gets it down to the 11 on a 3rd and goal, and Pine collapses, runs out of it, and he could have. He got blocked up, and it's a field goal, and it's 14-10 after 1 quarter of play. Yeah, both teams then punt it. Then Ohio gets the ball back. 6 plays, 57 yards. 25-yard pass from Navarro to Chase Hendricks. It's 21-10. And again, Pine, the next drive, he goes on a 1st and 10 from the Ohio 31-yard line. Gets intercepted by Tank Peterson for 37 yards. Down. Ohio gets the ball back at their own 40. They punt it. Bowling Green gets the ball back. Drive it down the field for 3 minutes and 45 seconds. Kicks the field goal. But here's the thing. On this drive, Pine could have ran it in. He could have ran it in. He was so close. There was nobody defending. He just threw the ball away and he ran. He could have ran it in. He could have ran it in and scored. He could have ran it in and scored. Field goal. 13-21. Ohio had an opportunity to put more points on the board. They missed the field goal. And it happens. Of course, then, first play out of the break, Navarro gets intercepted by JoJo Johnson. And Bowling Green recovers. Do they capitalize on points? No. 3 and out. Punt. Lost 11 yards on the drive, too, on that one. Bowling Green then forces the fumble, gets it, drives it down the field, and they fumble it again. Anderson sacked by Cameron Hollenberg. After Pine got injured, he got rocked a little bit. Anderson comes in the game. No passing opportunities for him. He hands the ball off, and then loses it for a 1-yard loss. He gets the ball again. He gets sacked by Cameron Hollenberg for a loss of 13, but then he fumbles the ball, and Jay Crumble comes up with the fumble. And that turned into points for Ohio. On a 3-play, 27-yard passing play, 21-13, Ohio. 28-13, Ohio. Punt. Bowling Green scores again into the fourth quarter on a 6-play, 55-yard drive from Chris McMillan on a nice run. It's 20-28. And then Ohio put it away. Touchdown on a 6-play, 75-yard drive. Navarro runs it for 34 yards. Took it to the house. Bowling Green had the opportunity, turns it over on downs. Ohio gets the ball, punts it. Bowling Green had an opportunity again, interception. Bowling Green loses 35-20 to Ohio in front of 20,027. I'm not happy about this game. It puts us behind the 8 ball. It really puts us behind the 8 ball. Because you know that Ohio's going to be dominant the rest of the way. Their schedule proves it too. And I'll get to that in just a second. Recapping it again, like I said, Navarro, I mentioned the Pine stats and the Bowling Green stats. For Navarro, he was 17 for 25 for 208 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. QBR rating is 74.3. Schley Barrega, 18 carries, 115 yards. Navarro was also their leading rusher in the touchdown round. 11 carries, 66 yards, 2 TDs. Mason Williams, 8 catches, 93 yards, 1 TD. Chase Hendricks, 1 catch, 25 yards, 1 TD in the game. The team stats look like this. Bowling Green had 21 first downs to Ohio's 24. Bowling Green 5 for 13 on third down efficiency. Ohio 4 for 10. Bowling Green 0 for 1 on fourth down. Ohio 1 for 2. Bowling Green had 350 total yards of offense, 170 through the air, 180 on the ground, so 350. Ohio had 446 yards. 208 through the air, 238 on the ground. The defense was not there for us. I lied. I was not happy with the defense. They let them have 6.6 yards a run. That's what the average was. Unbelievable. 4 turnovers for Bowling Green, 3 interceptions, and 1 fumble. You can't have that. 3 turnovers for Ohio, 2 fumbles, 1 interception. Bowling Green led in time of possession, that 30 minutes and 31 seconds to Ohio's 29-29. But again, Bowling Green loses this game. They go to 2-3. Ohio with the win goes to 3-2. And Bowling Green goes to 0-1 in MAC play. While Ohio improves 1-0 in MAC play. Central Michigan's 1-0 in MAC play. And we'll get to the MAC standings here. But they are now 3-2 overall. So it puts Bowling Green behind the 8 ball. Behind the 8 ball right off the bat. So I'm not happy about that. Coming up, now we're in this bye. Drew's got to get healthy. First of all. That's the first. Second of all, throughout the records, throughout the stuff, it's time for the Battle of I-75. And I want Eddie to get these guys up for this game. This is huge. The top 2 teams, you're playing the top 2 teams in the Mid-American Conference to start the season. we want to go 1-1 against them. We wanted to go 2-0. Now we have to go 1-1. We can't go 0-2 in MAC play to start if we want to get to Detroit. If we want to get to Detroit, we have to split this. Now, the Ohio game, we have to get it past this. But it's time. It is absolutely time for this team to show up and show out. Prime time game, noon kickoff on ESPNU. Huge game. The tickets are going quick in this game. The general admission and student tickets are sold out already. A week and a half before this game is to be played. It's a high ticket for this game. As a season ticket holder for the Falcon football team, I'm looking at this game and I'm saying, oh my God, I got to get to the stadium really early to make sure I get a parking spot. Like I said, throw out the rule books, throw out the record books, throw out what's happened in the past with the season. This game means everything to this community. And it being on a Saturday at noon is huge. Now, the problem I have with it, and this is the second Andy rants, that game is going to compete with an Ohio State game against Illinois. It's also competing with the same weekend as the Red River Shootout. Does that mean? That means no game day. That means no big noon. That really hurts the opportunity for this rivalry to be shown on the national page. I want game day to come to Bowling Green, to see this, to see the thrill of what this community has adapted with this team. I want to see McAfee and embrace Bowling Green. Yes, it's a 20-minute rivalry. This is huge. This game for Bowling Green is absolutely huge. It's more for me, this game is more for Bowling Green than it is for Toledo. Bowling Green needs to win this game because of the fact that that Toledo can easily win up and get into the MAC championship game. Bowling Green needs key wins in the MAC play. This would be a huge win. Eddie to get his first win in this rivalry is huge. And we will break down and preview this matchup next week on All Andy Alfred, because when we have both coaches, audios, and feeds to preview the game, because both teams are on a bye this week. So now you're seeing it all being added on and bubbling and getting ready for this week. It's going to be a huge matchup. Now, the question is, are we doing a tailgate? Stay tuned. Stay tuned. Yeah, stay tuned. So, let's take a look at what's happening around the rest of college football in week 5. Of course, the big upset, Virginia upsetting 8th-ranked Florida State. I watched that game. That was a really good game. The storming of the field. Virginia in double overtime beats Florida State 46-38. TCU gets upset by Arizona State 27-24. And then you get to the top 25. Ohio State routing Washington 24-6. Notre Dame putting a shellacking to Arkansas 56-13 and getting Pittman fired as head coach of the Arkansas Razorbacks. Georgia Tech in overtime beating Wake Forest 30-29. Illinois beating USC 34-32. Illinois 23rd ranked in the country. USC 21st ranked. Vandy, a huge win 55-35 over Utah State, and now that sets up Vandy going into Tuscaloosa this week. Game day is in Tuscaloosa this week instead of in Miami for Florida State, Miami, which is surprising. LSU falls to Ole Miss 24-19. Texas A&M winner 16-10 over Auburn. Indiana 20-15 win over Iowa. Tennessee 41, Mississippi State 34 in overtime. Iowa State a 39-14 win in that game. Missouri a 42-6 win over UMass, and BYU a 24-21 win over Colorado. Of course, the big games, Saturday night. I was flipping between both of them. And Alabama getting a huge win over Georgia, 24-21, getting their season on the right track. But Oregon, a huge win in Penn State, or State Penn. Huge win. 30-24 in double overtime. Huge win in that round. Get into the rest of the Big Ten slate. It was Rutgers losing to Minnesota 31-28. Northwestern a 17-14 win over UCLA. And then the rest of the Mid-American Conference looks like this. The MAC games are as follows. It was, besides Bowling Green falling to Ohio 35-20, Toledo shellacks Akron 45-3 on homecoming. Central Michigan a 24-13 win over Eastern Michigan. UConn beats Buffalo 20-17. Buffalo's in trouble. San Diego State in a slugfest against NIU. San Diego State a winner 6-3 to the NIU Huskies. Linwood falls to Miami, Ohio 38-0, getting the Redhawks their first win of the year. Rhode Island who is 4-0 going into the game against Western Michigan, gets beat 47-14 in that affair. And like I said, Missouri getting a 42-6 win over UMass. Now we get into this week's slate. Of course, games are as follows. We'll start with the MAC games since we have them open right now. Ohio travels to Ball State, noon kickoff. Ohio 14.5-point favorite in this game. I'm going to take the Bobcats of Ohio in that game. Western Michigan travels up to Massachusetts to take on the Minutemen of UMass. UMass 0-4, Western Michigan 2-3. Western Michigan 12.5-point favorite in this game. I'm going to take Western Michigan University in that game. Central Michigan travels to Akron. 3:30 kicks. Central Michigan 8.5-point favorite. I'm going to take Central Michigan in that game. Eastern Michigan 1-4 taking on Buffalo, who is 2-3. Buffalo a 10.5-point favorite in the game. I am going to take Buffalo in that game, but I wouldn't be surprised if Eastern pulls out some surprise. I like Eastern's quarterback this year. He's pretty good this year. The battle of the 1-3s, Miami of Ohio will take on NIU. Miami of Ohio 5.5-point favorite in this game. I'm going to take NIU to beat Miami of Ohio. Kent State 1-3 travels to Oklahoma to take on the Sooners. Oklahoma 45.5-point favorite in this game. I'm going to take Oklahoma. I might even make it minus the 145. So then we get into the Big Ten slate, of course, and we will start first and foremost with the other Big Ten games besides the two local programs. Illinois, 22nd ranked in the country, travels to Purdue. Noon kick on the Big Ten Network. Illinois 9.5-point favorite in that game. I'm going to take the Fighting Illini of Illinois. 7th ranked Penn State will travel to UCLA. 3:30 kick. Penn State 26.5-point favorite. I'm going to take State Penn in this game. Washington, the Huskies, coming off the loss against Ohio State, will travel to Maryland. Washington 6.5-point favorite. 3:30 kickoff for that one. Maryland 4-0, Washington 3-1. I'm actually going to take Maryland in this game. Travel to cross country is going to be the surprise in this run. UNL, University of Louisiana Monroe 3-1 will take on Northwestern. Northwestern 2-2. UNL Monroe 3-1. NIU is not NIU, but Northwestern is a 11.5-point favorite in this game. I'm going to take Northwestern in this game. And then, of course, Michigan State. Well, now this is all the local team. Michigan State, 4 o'clock kick on FS1. Will go into Nebraska to take on Big Red and the Nebraska Huskers. Nebraska, 11.5-point favorite in this game. I'm going to take Michigan State in this game. Little brother's going to get the big win at that, which sets up the noon kick. Big noon Saturday will travel to Ann Arbor, Michigan, Dave Portnoy's hometown. The Michigan man travels to Ann Arbor as Michigan welcomes in Wisconsin. It's Big Cat versus Dave Portnoy. Michigan 16.5-point favorite. Take Michigan. And then, of course, the big primetime game, 7:30 kickoff on NBC as the number one team in the country, the Ohio State Buckeyes, almost said the Bobcats, Ohio State Buckeyes host, row the boat, and the Minnesota Golden Gophers. Ohio State 23.5-point favorite in this game. I'm taking Ohio State in the game. So now we get into the top 25. Now the top 25, by the way, ranking-wise, looks like this. Ohio State, number one in the country, like I mentioned before. Second is Oregon. Miami, third. Ole Miss is fourth. Oklahoma, 5. Texas A&M, 6. Penn State, 7. Indiana, 8th. Texas, 9th. And Alabama moves up to 10th. Texas Tech, 11. Georgia, 12. LSU, 13th. Iowa State, 14th. Tennessee, 15th. Vanderbilt moves up 2 spots to 16th. Georgia Tech, 17th. Florida State falls 10 spots to 18th in the poll. Missouri moves up 1 to 19. Michigan falls 1 to 20th. Notre Dame, 2-2 overall, moves up in the ranking 1 spot to 21st. Illinois, 4-1, are moved up 1 spot to 22nd. BYU, 23rd. Virginia, 24th. And Arizona State, 25th in the top 25. And with that all in mind, let's take a look at the top 25 teams that we're going to look at. West Virginia and Pat McAfee's Western Virginia Mountaineers will travel to Provost to take on the BYU Cougars. BYU 19.5-point favorites in this game. I'm going to take BYU in this game. What sets up the afternoon slate of games on Saturday. Noon kick, Kentucky will travel to 12th ranked Georgia. Georgia 20.5-point favorite, 12th ranked in the country. I'm going to take Georgia in this game. I will also, at noon as well on ESPN2, Cincinnati hosts the 14th ranked Iowa State Cyclones. Cincinnati 1.5-point favorites in this game. Cincinnati 3-1 and Iowa State 5-0. I'm going to take Iowa State in this game, even though Cincinnati is a 1.5-point favorite in this game. Let's see here. Texas, 9th ranked in the country. 3-1 overall, will head down to Gainesville, Florida, to take on the Florida Gators, who are 1-3, really struggling. Texas 6.5-point favorites in the game. I'm going to take Texas in this game. 3:30 kick. Vanderbilt 5-0. Take on the 10th ranked Crimson Tide of Alabama. Roll Tide, Bama. Yes, ma'am. Alabama 10.5-point favorite in this game. Take it, Bama. But you know what? I like Pavia. Give me Vandy in the upset. Vanderbilt. Vandy in the upset. That one. 24th ranked Virginia travels to Louisville, Virginia, after the big win over Florida State. 4-1. They'll take on Louisville, who's 4-0. Louisville 6.5-point favorite. Louisville will get the win in that one. I think they'll upset them there. Texas Tech, 11th ranked in the country, goes to Houston. 7 o'clock kick on ESPN. Both teams 4-0. Texas Tech is a 11.5-point favorite. I'm going to take Texas Tech in that game. And then you have the big game on 3:30 as well. 3:30 as well, as Boise State and the Broncos of Boise State, with their blue turf, head to South Bend, Indiana, to take on the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. 3:30 kick on NBC. Notre Dame, a 19.5-point favorite, taking the Irish. Notre Dame beating the Broncos of Boise State. 7:30 on ABC sees the third-ranked Miami Hurricanes traveling to Florida State. Florida State 3-1, Miami 4-0. Miami a 4.5-point favorite. I will take Miami. And then 7:30 sees Mississippi State traveling to 6th-ranked Texas A&M. This is the Brandon Walker, Casey Smith game. Texas A&M. So there's that. Those are the games. So again, to recap, top 25, BYU, Georgia, Iowa State, Texas, Vandy to beat Bama, Louisville, Texas Tech, Notre Dame to beat Boise State, Miami, Florida over Florida State, and Texas A&M over Mississippi State. The Big Ten games, I have Illinois in the big win against Purdue. I have Penn State over UCLA. I have Maryland in the upset, winning their game. Maryland. I have Northwestern, Michigan State over Nebraska, Michigan over Wisconsin, and Ohio State over Minnesota. And in the Mid-American Conference games, I have the Ohio Bobcats, Western Michigan, Central Michigan, Buffalo, Northern Illinois, and Oklahoma beating Kent State in that plus in the minus 45.5. So there's the games there. Of course, we have a little bit of time, just a little bit of time left. I want to get into this. It's just gone final. Tonight, the NHL, the Jackets were in action tonight in action. They fall tonight, by the way, to the Washington Capitals by the score of 4-3. Matthew Olivier getting a goal in the game tonight. Boone Jenner with a power play goal. But, of course, like I mentioned before, Jackets fall to the Washington Capitals. They are 2-4-0 in preseason play. They'll have one more preseason game in Washington on Saturday, and then we will start the season. The Jackets will start next Thursday in Nashville to start the season. The season will start Tuesday with the triple header on ESPN with the banner raising in Florida as they take on the Chicago Blackhawks. It will be Pittsburgh and New York, and the final game will be Utah taking on, I believe it's San Jose. Don't quote me on that. So we'll see what happens with that. Red Wings are up 3-0 on the Blackhawks after 2 periods of play. Vegas up 2-1 on the Colorado Avalanche after 40 minutes of play. Panthers fall to the Lightning 3-2. That game was played at the Amway Center in Orlando, Florida, where the Orlando Solar Bears play at, which is in the East Coast Hockey League. And by the way, the Walleye in the East Coast Hockey League's training camp will start next week. We'll get into that as well, too. Montreal winner 5-0 over the Ottawa Senators as well. Really quickly as well. Final in the Bronx, the Red Sox, a win tonight over the New York Yankees. The Yankees fall 3-1 to the Red Sox and down 1-0 in the series to the Red Sox. We're just underway at Chavez Ravine. The Dodgers up 1-0 on the Reds, bottom of the third in that game on ESPN. So, again, Thursday we will have a special preview of the NHL. We'll have the preview edition of all Andy Alfred's NHL preview edition on Thursday night. Again, no show Friday night on the Falcon Friday. Of course, that's why we gave you all the games. And, of course, with Bowling Green being on the bye this week, there will be no Falcon Friday edition of the podcast this upcoming Friday. So there's that. Also, got to make mention, of course, the NFL slate. Again, I have the Rams over the 49ers for Thursday Night Football. Minnesota over Cleveland on the London game. The 1:00 slates again. Baltimore over Houston. The Giants over New Orleans. Philly over Denver. The Jets to beat Dallas. Indianapolis over the Raiders. Miami over Carolina. Tampa in the 4:00 window beating Seattle. Arizona over Tennessee. The Chargers over Washington. Detroit shellacks Cincinnati. The Sunday night game, Buffalo over New England, and Jacksonville in the upset on Monday Night Football to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. Again, no show Friday, of course. Thursday will be the NHL preview edition of All Andy Alfred. That will be an audio version only. We'll have it also on our YouTube channel, but it'll be the audio version of it, of course. And like I mentioned before, you are watching and listening to us on All Andy Alfred on the plethora of platforms, whether it be on Apple Music, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Bleaker, however you listen to our show, wherever you listen to our show. Thank you for tuning in to the show tonight. Tonight's show is also dedicated to somebody very special in my life. I want to wish my mother, Debbie Alfred, a happy birthday. She's turning the big 6'7", That will be on Thursday. Also, gotta give her a plug as well too. She is retiring from her work as of tomorrow at 5 o'clock. October 1st is her last day, and so I want to say thank you to my mom. She has been the heart and soul of my life, of course, because she's my mother. But she's not only my mother; she's my friend, my coworker, and I wish her all the best in her retirement. She gets to hang out with Snacks, and gets to hang out with all of us more and more. I don't have to worry about work as much, and she gets to hang out with my dad more. I don't think she's really going to enjoy all that, but so to my mom, I thank you for everything that you've done in my life. Thank you for everything you've done with us at Libby, and I want to wish you a happy birthday. I love you, and happy retirement. So there's that. Also, got to give a plug as well to my beautiful wife Amanda. I love you, and to all of you that watch us, thank you. Again, like I said, thank you for tuning into our podcast. Remember, like and subscribe if you're watching us on YouTube, and subscribe to us on all the platforms: Apple Music, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, however you listen and take in this show. Thank you so much. Again, we will be on the air Thursday to preview the National Hockey League and the schedule, as we are now less than a week away from the start of the NHL season. Also, like I mentioned, no show Friday for Falcon Friday. We will post all the cards again on our Twitter accounts as well as Facebook. Also, again, like I mentioned before, happy birthday, Mom, and happy retirement. And remember that that this is going to be a fun run, especially next week at the Battle of I-75 between our Bowling Green State University Falcons and that school up north. Even though I do this show in where the school up north is. And that's all the time I have for you guys tonight right here on All Andy Alfred. I hope you enjoyed the show. Thank you for tuning in. And as always, I'm pulling for you. We're all in this together. The game of life. Keep your stick on the ice. And to the teams you root for at home, and to my teams, go Jackets! Go Walleye! Go Tigers! Go Tigers! Go Reds! Let's go Falcons. And more birdies and less bogeys. Man, the U.S. choked in the Ryder Cup. Because victory is sweetest when you have tasted defeat. Have a great week, everybody. I'll see you Thursday for an NHL preview edition. Until then, I love you guys. Love you, babe. Talk to you later.